Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television, where we keep you updated with all that is happening currently in Nigeria. We're seeing that tanker drivers have actually started their strike today. We will recall that last week they said that they will be withdrawing their services as of today, and we're seeing that actually the queues have returned in Lagos State, and we're hoping that it doesn't spread to other parts of the country. We hope that the government will actually swift into action and look into that issue. These and many other we would love to look at this afternoon, so remember you can follow us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Drop your comment, drop your views on any of this story we will be looking at this afternoon. I'm Sada Elisha and I'm doing the program with Rachel Tanze. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
Well, let's dive straight into it. We're seeing already. I mean, we started this conversation last week, Friday, precisely, where we saw the reasons why these tanker drivers say that, you know what, as of today, they will be withdrawing their services. They mentioned, I think, basically it was the cost of running the whole operation, transporting it from where they get to upload the fuel down to where they have to offload it, and then they kept sending letters, and it seems as if nobody's replying or nobody's doing anything about it. And we're seeing that they have withdrawn their service, and we're seeing that queues have returned already in Lagos State. Of course, that is where they actually upload, taking off the oil. So we're seeing that already, we're already seeing queues in Lagos State. So I'm only imagining how it would look like somewhere in Zamfara, somewhere in Kano, how will it be presently. But we're seeing that they've already started, and I'm hoping that the government will do something, because if this strike should go longer than this week, then I really do not know what will be the fate of people running their businesses, because we'll see that black market will definitely resurface again. And we know what it looks like where we have black market that's actually operating. You see them on the road trying to sell fuel at a higher price, when already the price it is, Nigerians cannot afford it. So you can imagine, instead of buying fuel maybe at 650, we end up buying a liter at 1,000 or even more, because people prefer to have the commodity or to actually have the petrol rather than not being available. So we are hoping that the government will actually swift into action to make sure that, you know what, whatever demands these tanker drivers are actually demanding, the government will be able to meet up with all of these demands, and then we'll be able to see that the queues will gradually reduce, because I know it will not reduce at once, but we hope to see the, withdrawal eventually.
We are seeing the federal government starting to beg them not to go on strike and asking for hearing and dialogue. And I mean, don't just the government of Nigeria love dialoguing and begging when they're supposed to be doing the work. It's like one sitting after another, one dialogue after the other, and all the promises are being made, and then immediately they leave that hall of making those dialogues. It's like they just go and throw the file, and we're back to square one, Sele. It feels like that all the time. We see that with labor, and now we're seeing that with our road transport organization. And then the effect of this, no doubt, is, you know what? There might be speculations, right, that the landing price for petroleum, for example, has gone high. So there's so much assumption, so much conspiracy, left, right, center, that federal government, NNPCL, is still paying subsidy, knowing the fact that they have refused to allow other marketers to import oil. They are solely having the monopoly of importing oil. And we're seeing marketers year after year saying, you know what, based on the laws and what oil importation, we are supposed to have access to it. But the NNPCL have clearly made it impossible for them to have access to the foreign transactions that will allow them to be able to also import oil into the country. Now, even if the NNPCL, for example, is doing something concerning making sure that fuel pump price stays between the range of at most 600 to 700 naira, we know that in the foreign or somewhere like Sokoto and the rest, the prices are different, only the cost of taking it there. Just as you said, imagine if in Lagos we are starting to see queue, what would it be for those down north and all of that? Now, one of the effects that we are going to see for sure, Sele, that even if NNPCL decide to control the price of petrol as it is now, the fuel pump price, if these tankers decide to say, you know what, we will continue with the high cost of operation, because either way, this is still business, and we have to keep moving. We will now see eventually what will they and how much will they be charging distributors in the long run, because there must be those charges incurred. Now, no matter how hard the NNPCL tries to control fuel pump price at a range. By the time we have distributors, we're talking about our fuel station, the people now that deal directly with consumers, who are the ones who are dealing with the tankers bringing this petrol to them. We will definitely see an increase in what fuel pump price is, no matter what the NNPCL does concerning controlling or regulating the price of fuel as it is now in the country. So it's either we are seeing, if the landing price for petrol doesn't change, the cost of operation within the country is definitely going to affect pump prices eventually. Now the question is, what will the government do? So it's simple. It's cost of operation that NARTO is complaining, that tankers are complaining about. What are you doing about the cost of helping them out with the cost of operation? So no offense, but we are having a country at times like this spending billions to subsidize pilgrimage. And you wonder, where are we heading?
What is the economic advantage
exactly
to the country?
Whoever wants to go on pilgrimage at this economic crisis that we are in should go on it. And let the government take that money for subsidy, for subsidizing pilgrimage, to help tankers. If the government don't know what to do, we are here simply advising them that the cost of operation is the reason that we are having these tankers going and tanker drivers going on strike. What are you doing to ease it? It's not rocket science. That is the problem, and that is the solution. What can you do about the price of diesel in the market? We are looking at it within 1,200 to 1,400. This is starting this week. What will it be by the end of the week? What are we looking at the following week? And their trucks run on this diesel, and that is solely what they need to take this petrol to every corner of Nigeria. So it's out there. The federal government knows what to do. I'll keep saying it. As usual, they know what to do. They know exactly what to do. The question is, are they willing to do it? Because it doesn't look like they are willing to do it. It looks like one dialogue after another, they go, they sleep on it, and nothing ever happens or changes. But I just hope that this time around, the government will do something, because it's an administration of renewed hope. And what it means is that regardless of how things might look like, Nigerians are expected to be hopeful concerning the Buhari and Tinubu's administration. So we are hoping that the federal government will step in and do something to just come in, and let's just not see a man-made increase in fuel pump price because the federal government refused to step in and help the cost of operating or taking fuel around the country.
Richard, my concern is the fact that it will not only just stop at the fact that petrol is going to be high, but the fact that we know that there is no sector that when one gets affected, others do not.
Yes.
Richard, the moment we're seeing that there is a hike, believe me, transport is going to be expensive. So 200 naira is not going to be 200 naira again. You are now running at 250, 300 naira per drop, depending on where you are living in Nigeria anyway, because I guess I'm saying this based on where I'm staying presently. So I'm imagining somebody living in like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. I'm imagining how transportation would be. Let's not even talk about foodstuff, because definitely transporting it will be another extra cost.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the second thing, which is actually being linked to still this tanker drivers, because just like I said, it's very difficult for us to see one sector getting affected without others not getting affected. Now we're seeing that Labour are staging a protest, talking about the fact that because of the hardship in the country, the hike in food prices and so many other things, and they feel that, you know what, this is the way to actually send our demand. Remember, by 27th, according to Labour, they will be going on strike.
Yes.
So this is more like warning the federal government, if you do not do something about what is happening presently, we are going to take matters into our hands. And taking matters means that, you know what, we are going on strike. Everybody's going to stay at home. So imagine the woman selling tomatoes saying, I'm no longer going to sell. Imagine the person selling the daily things you need every day saying they won't, or maybe you're trying to go to work and then we're having our transporters going on strike. Why? Because they're under the trade union, so whether we like it or not. Now, we mentioned earlier when we're talking about the tanker drivers that the cost of landing is very high for them. And here we're seeing that, you know what, you made a very important point, the fact that at the time where people are dying of hunger, we're seeing the government trying to subsidize for people going on pilgrimage. And I asked the question, what economic advantage does it have to the country? You want to go there? Yeah, I mean, there's a problem we have in this country, the fact that we're yet to get our priorities right in
We're
this
living
country.
like all is well.
We're living like all is well, and we're deceiving ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, no wonder when we go to other nations to actually borrow, I mean, it's very difficult to tell somebody that you're broke, Richard. Imagine looking very good, making up yourself, and then going to go and meet somebody that is trying and say, please borrow me 10,000. And the person will ask you first and foremost, you're looking so, you're glowing.
Like
so why
in your pocket.
you should have that? And that is the same thing that is happening to our government.
Yes.
We are living a very flamboyant lifestyle, and then we are hoping that other nations will know that we're going through hardship. I will never forget the former Senate president when he said we should not deceive ourselves, we are poor. And I said I refuse to believe we are poor, Richard, but we have all that it takes to be rich, but we refuse to utilize those potentials, or we refuse to dig deeper to know what we can do. I mean, you made mention, I mean, if the government do not know what to do, advisors are everywhere. Analysts have said it, economics have said it, number of people that have said it. Of course, we will not be ignorant where we saw even manufacturers saying the fact that the first half of the year is going to be a tough one. But what is the government trying to do to make sure that, you know what, it will not be as tough as it should be presently? How hard can it get from the way it is presently? I mean, just on Saturday, I mean, Richard, if you are in Jos, just like we are in Jos, if you actually made your way down to the tomatoes market in Faringada, you realize that going there is very difficult for you to even get tomatoes. Because immediately these people are coming from the farm, there's already a car waiting standby to buy the tomatoes, and it's off.
Yeah.
They're actually trying to take it somewhere else, and possibly they have more demand than us here. But what am I trying to say? When Nigerians cannot even have access to daily commodities, you cannot have water to drink. We saw how much sachet of water is costing, Richard.
Yes.
15 naira in Enugu.
True.
So it's a matter of time before you hear other places saying, okay, you know what, the sachet of water is going to be 30 naira. And let's not forget that some of this water are not even healthy.
Yes.
They're not as healthy as the bottled water sometimes, because I know that I've actually fallen ill because of particular sachet water, one part of the country. So that is to say that not all sachet water are even healthy. Or I went to look at the fact that even African Development Bank is scared for us presently.
Yeah.
That if the government do not do something about it, they are afraid there's going to be unrest. And I mentioned during our morning program the fact that this unrest, I am afraid, will be worse than #EndSARS if the government do not do something. Nigerians do not even need labor, funny enough, to actually talk for them. It's just a matter of, you know, when you get hungry, you get placard. How much is cardboard? Nigerians who get cardboard paper, get marker, and they will write it. We saw what happened in Niger State, went down to Suleja, down to Kogi State. And it's a matter of time. We saw that even in Kano. And we saw where the APC government arrested and said it's coming from the opposition party. What a flimsy excuse coming from the government. They're supposed to sit down and say, you know what actually is happening? What can we do? You mentioned during your program the fact that, I mean, we saw that also last week, 42,000 tons of grain. And I wonder, who is going to get it? How many cups of rice or gari or millet will you get in your house, or maize? So this is the question I believe our leaders need to sit back. Maybe they are not yet faced with the reality on the ground, but they need to know that there is hunger in the land. You said renew hope, Rachel, but it looks like it's renew hunger Nigerians are going through presently. And I hope that the president will actually wake up with all his cabinet members to do something drastic about this issue at hand.
It's a time that, you know, Labour is on point concerning the whole ultimatum, the strike and all of that, because they've given the federal government a very long rope that it looked like they were bought 2023. And then now stepping into 2024, we'll just have to watch and see if Labour will be able to get the federal government to really do something for Nigerians. Now, have they tried? A little bit. Can they do better? Definitely. When you just keep giving threat without action to a government that have paid deaf ears to you, your action will make them see you if they refuse to hear. It's sign language to a deaf person. You talk, the person can't hear you, then you do a sign.
That's the
and
language
then you get the person's attention. That is the language. And this is where I'm looking forward to seeing Labour taking a stand, giving a sign to the federal government that, you know what, we mean business, and you either listen to us or don't think that this time around blackmailing us emotionally, that we are going to plunge the economy, will threaten us. because we refuse to go on the strike. But guess what? The economy is going down. It's going down. So it literally says that whether or not our economy is doomed as it is now, because your policies are failing, because every measures you try to take as a government is not working, and you're refusing to listen, you're refusing to do anything differently, and rather you're still playing the blame games and just trying to either blame one man for the whole economic crisis in the country, or try to say the opposition party is this and that, and we're already off on a wrong start if we are having an administration that is going to go according to that way. And now this is also where I'm starting to see the federal government showing labor riot ad because of what African Development Bank said concerning this could lead to a chaotic unrest in the country and all of that. And they're trying to tell labor, you know what, if you go on a strike, it could cause problem and all of that, so you shouldn't do anything about it. And just as you said, whether labor goes on strike or not, Nigerians are at the verge of breaking and saying enough is enough. So even if labor should sit down and fold their hands, there is something coming. There is something on its way. And then the federal government have to act quickly. And this is where I am waiting to see that our government is willing to act quickly and do something about it. We don't want 42,000 metric tons. Can you just do what you said you will do? That is pumping in grains into the market to be able to crash down the prices of goods in the market. Why are you not doing that? That is a far better option. That is even the solution temporary to the problem, and yet you decide to go for what will not eventually do anything, what Nigerians will not feel the impact, and that is the option you go for. And that is what we have been seeing over and over with the federal government of Nigeria, that is the solution. They're staring at it right in the face that this is what is going to help, but they would rather go for the option that will not solve anything. It's not even going to be a temporary solution. It's not even going to be felt. Nothing is going to change when you go for that option, and that is the option you will pick. So I'm just hoping that when the 14-day ultimatum expires for labor on the 23rd, let's see the next step they will take. You have given the federal government a very, very long rope. It's time you take actions. It's time they listen to you. You've listened to them for too long. It's now time they listen to you and do what you want them to do. And then I want labor to also be realistic when it comes to minimum wage, because it's one of the things out there, the wage reward and then the minimum wage, saying that it has to do with living wage, that is, it must be enough to take care of the expenses of a standard household in Nigeria, that is 2 parents, four children, be able to and then leave some out for saving. That is agreed, but we want to see figures that when you put your foot down, the federal government must listen to you, because first, you're reasonable and you know that they can come through for Nigeria with such a minimum wage. Don't let it not just be out of, you know what, we can say this, we can do this. Be realistic, be strategic, be diplomatic. Labor should be, and then eventually we will see something.
Because, I don't want the federal government to say that Nigerians are being very harsh on them or very hard on them on labor. Of course, we are aware that, it's not only Nigeria that is going through this global meltdown. A number of countries, last week we saw UK, Japan as well are going through recession. So that is to say that their global situations are actually influencing all of this. But then, as a country, what are you going to do? It's quite unfortunate with all of this things that are happening, and we just hope that the language that Labour will speak will actually make sense and meaning to our federal government, so eventually they will come up. Now, I see, Rachel, when we're talking about hunger, we're still having the issue of insecurity still going on. We saw that there was an attack in Kaduna again, just when I was happy that things are beginning to get normal in that part of the country. We're seeing that another unrest again, about a number of houses were burned down, people were killed, some were being kidnapped and all of that. And I'm just wondering, is it because the governor was actually out and trying to make peace, or somebody somewhere, it's very difficult for you to pick point and say who is responsible. I remember last week saying the fact that if the government is really serious, because we saw where even the Sultan was talking about the hunger, and we see where a number of people are saying we need to give education priority, because it's because of the lack of education that we're having people being idle and then being used as a ploy in the hands of these terrorists and bandits. But what is the government going to do about it? And I'm afraid, because we've seen that each time they start in this state and then we don't give attention to other states, they use another route and they're in another state. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that the government will really look into this. And it's quite a sad one for people who have been affected in Kaduna by this. But I'm hoping that the culprits will be brought to book. Not the book that we always hear that we're on top of the matter and then we don't hear anything eventually. But the type of book that we're on top of the matter and then we see the people sponsoring it and all of this. And then this will really show to Nigeria that, you know what, this government means business when they say they're going to deal with terrorists. And we're looking forward to seeing that. We'll really have to send our condolences just when we are trying to recover from that community that was being, the bombing that took place, that accidental bombing that took place, and then another one again. So I'm hoping that the government of Kaduna State, security operatives, and all of that, a number of Nigerians have come out to say, I mean, this is the state that we're having every security body present there. Talk about army, force, everything. If you go there, it's in Kaduna State. Yet we see that that is the state that has been a soft spot where we see bandits, kidnapping, actually having a swell day over there. So we are hoping that something will be done. Actually, it's really a sad one that this is happening again in Kaduna.
So first of all, I would like to see on our papers, terrorists invaded a village in Kaduna, killed 12, razed 17 houses down, kidnapped, and all of that. The narrative needs to really start changing, because this act is beyond banditry. We know that it all has the characteristics and features of banditry. But when a place is targeted by the same group of people, making these people lose their houses, lose their land, lose their properties, lose their farmlands, and everything, when it becomes territorial in nature, it's no longer banditry.
Of course, terrorists.
It's terrorism. That's a terrorist act. And we are seeing Kaduna South under siege. Southern Kaduna under siege. And you are still referring to them as bandits, because you want to treat them as just armed robbers on the highway, stealing and then leaving and moving. And you know very well that that is not the narrative of what is happening in Southern Kaduna. And the moment you keep taking them as bandits, you keep downplaying the action that is needed to be taken to put an end to the situation going on in the country. And we can say that for every middle belt state in Nigeria that has gone through attack, the same for Kaduna, Benue State, Plateau, and then that's the major. We've had a few in Nasarawa State once in a while. And you will see that it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time, because you know what? The core middle belt states are affected. That is Plateau, Benue, and then Kaduna. And we can say this is targeted. We can see the nature of it. A common man can predict and say this is how this thing is going to outplay. And the government keeps downplaying it by what they tag and put the narrative as. And it keeps putting us in the same place, because you know what? These are bandits. Whereas we know that these are not banditry activities, if I must put it like that. Now, until we get to that point, then that is when I will know that the government has the intention of putting an end to this. But as long as what keep appearing on our news and what comes out of the mouth of our government is bandit, this problem is going to persist continually. And what is supposed to be taking, the active measure that the military is supposed to take, is not going to be possible, because they are being limited by what these people are tagged as. And that is the fact. So whatever they say, Sele, we will call them to book. This calling them to book will never happen, because you're tagging them as bandits. You're tagging them as unknown gunmen. You're tagging them as all the name that they are not, and refusing to address them as what they are. Until we get to that point, they will keep saying we will call them to book, and that book will never be filled. They will never be called to book.
Sometimes you wonder if the book is missing.
If the book is missing, exactly. So until we are ready to take the measures that is needed, I believe that we still have a long way going. Not like we don't have a government that can do anything about it. They can absolutely do everything and put an end to it. But we will still be where we are. It's not a doom's prediction. It's not. It's just what it is. And it might look like, just as you said, you thought maybe we can see some peace in Kaduna, but we are back to where we were yesterday. Exactly. And it's just for us to brace ourselves.
Very true. Rachel, in fact, even if you choose to call them bandit, there was a time in Nigeria that even if you're a bandit or a robber, we see your face on TV, you are being hanged to death. So we hope that that will be the result. Well, that's how far we can go on the program, Nigeria Now. Thank you so much to our viewers. Thank you so much, our supporters. Thank you, Rachel, for always doing this to me. All right, until we come your way tomorrow, please do have a blessed day ahead.